Hi, and welcome to another edition of The Tongue with Dr. Myke. Thank you to all of you that are joining us again. Welcome to the new people that are joining us for the first time. Remember, thetonguespeakslife.com. You can go there and check out our previous podcasts. You can email me questions, comments, whatever. You can donate directly to the organization. You can check out Cure International and donate directly to them on the website. If you haven't checked out Cure International yet, I challenge you to do that immediately. It's a great organization. It's a great thing to check out for yourself and find out what they're doing across the world. It's really moving. Thank you for all the comments coming in and for the questions. I know that JB and I address some of the questions coming in, but a lot of them we will make shows out of, but a lot of them I'll directly write you back. And feel free. There's no stupid questions. Remember that. So continue to do that. We're going to keep rolling along here and jump before we get back on the timeline. And remember, we're doing this timeline that was, this was 10 years ago. And so a lot has changed, or has it? Right? So at the end of this 10-year timeline 10-year ago timeline that was given, we're going to fast forward to present day, see what's happened in the last 10 years, look at what the rest of this predicted timeline looks like, and we're going to wrap it all up eventually. So hang in there. I know we're going fast, but keep the questions coming in. So let's jump back and we'll do a quick book of the Bible review. And if you're interested into learning more books of the Bible, just email me that as well. Which book? We'll spend lots of time discussing that if you like. We're staying in the Old Testament now. We've done Psalms and Proverbs, and we talked about, if you've never opened the Bible or don't know where to start reading, those two books are really awesome. A lot of couples read this book of the Bible. A lot of therapists read this book of the Bible. A lot of people read this book of the Bible. This is the 22nd book of the Old Testament. This is the Song of Songs, or the Song of Solomon. And this book is just a collection of poems in which a man and a woman describe the joy of their love for each other. It's written in it's written in the third section of the biblical canon. If you heard that term before, it's in the writings section. With books like Ecclesiastes, Lamentations, Esther. There's debate on did King Solomon write this? Did he not write this? Is this describing another couple? We're not going to get into that right now. But Song of Solomon is 8 chapters, and it's really just about love. It's about a man and a woman who are getting ready for their marriage. Then it talks about their marriage, what in the future, what it looks like. I don't want to give too much away, but it is extremely well written, and it's interesting to see the level of love that's described in there. So if you're unsure of if you never talked to anybody that read this, or you're unsure about reading it, I challenge you to read it. Check it out. An example of the perfect picture of marriage that God designed, right? And the love and the pure and powerful respect, appreciation, and adoration between a man and a woman. But, Song of Songs is an example of godly love and marriage. And many of us need to see that today. It portrays a man and a woman with desire only for each other, who rejoice in their desire and accept it. They accept this joining in this union as holy, as meaningful, as beautiful, and as right. They wait for each other. They seek each other out, and they wait for each other. And this describes how much in-depth love conversation between the bride and the bridegroom. And check it out. Take a look at it. The desire of the woman, restoration of honor, anticipating your marriage, the discipline of waiting, the night of insecurity, the wedding itself, There's dreams in there, renewed contemplation, renewed consummation, and there's an epilogue at the end. So, like I said, when you get a chance, check it out. It's a great book of the Bible. We are going to stay in the Old Testament for our verse for today. It is Isaiah 41, verse 10. Do not fear, for I am with you. Do not anxiously look about you, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. Surely I will help you. Surely I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. Right? So get your pen out and write these down. Don't, of course, look at them now. Go back in your Bible study time. Go to Psalms chapter 46, verse 1 to 3, and also verse 7. Psalm 16, verse 8. Psalm 55, 22, and Psalm 62, 6. Then flip over to 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 7, and 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse 7. Okay, so read them. They all will fit. And a lot of people are asking me why I jump around and give those verses. It's all going to make sense. Just use that time as a special, read your Bible, explore the Bible a little bit, read what's going on in those. It will all come together at some point, right? So as the seasons change, seasons change rapidly, and so does everything in our life, right? So the ordinary mundane things that we take for granted are missed once our lives change. You know what I mean? It's not until that change happens that we even realize how fortunate we've been or how we miss our routine. It's always good to remember and to look back on good or bad times, but it's important to understand that the time that is before us is what matters. We are all in the exact moment in our lives where God has planned. For some, it's good times. For others, it's not so easy right now. In both, even though we may not understand it or feel like doing it, we need to thank God. He's there to support us in both situations. Do not forget him in either situation. So this newsletter and this podcast bears the name The Tongue. And we go over this all the time. It's named for a personal reason for me, but now it takes on a more important meaning. For you, it should be the absolute same. The power of life and death are in your tongue. I spoke on this last time. I speak on it continuously because the severity of this message, you need to grasp that. Matthew chapter 12:37 says, "For by your words you will be justified, and by your words you will be condemned." That's both powerful and it's crazy, right? So you need to, do you realize that, what you're doing when you give speech to your thoughts? You actually write history. You determine how your life is going to go. In the Bible, two great examples are given about that, right? One I've talked about already. The second one I haven't. The first one that I talked about is the mightiest of ships on the seas. As big as it is, it's controlled by a small rudder, which goes in the direction, the ship turns the direction the pilot decides it to go, right? The other example is horses in the Bible, right? The mightiest horses, these strong, courageous, powerful animals that charge fearlessly into battle. They're as big and as powerful as they are. They're controlled by the mouth to turn in the direction that we choose when we ride it, right? The Bible even tells you, it instructs you to bridle your tongues. That's in James, right? So the tongue is a small spark that sets a huge forest ablaze. Men can tame every creature, but they cannot tame his tongue. It's a poison that cannot be controlled. If you've read Proverbs chapter 1, one who guards his mouth and keeps his tongue keeps his life from troubles. Speaking positive words will plant seeds that bring positive things. And we're going to talk about, the reap what you sow, and we're going to get into that. Sowing and reaping, planting of seeds, harvesting are all concepts that relate to what begins when we give life by speaking. So you don't give life to negativity by speaking it. You speak life. You speak life, right? So that being said, now let's continue on with our discussion. Let's go back to the timeline. We discussed a lot of things already. Red heifer, the Jews returning to Israel. Everything that's been predicted in the Bible to this point has come to pass, right? So is that ironic? Is that coincidence? Okay, maybe it's coincidence, right? If you believe it's coincidence, just ignore the last couple topics and last things that we've talked about, and just look at what's going on in the world around you, right? So As you do that, you have to question yourself, right? Do you think we will ever be a cashless society? Is that something you see on the horizon? Look at what's going on with Bitcoins. What's going on crypto, right? So do you see the world moving towards a one world organization? Take a look around at what religion is growing at the fastest rate, and which leaders in which positions around the world are in roles of power, and what religion they are, right? Do you see Islam as a threat? Do you see communism as a threat? Do you see Buddhists as a threat, right? What countries are allying themselves with each other, and of those countries, which of them have nuclear capability? Where does China fit in all this? Where does Egypt fit in all this, right? Is it conceivable to you that there's a chaos scenario globally, right? Do you believe in Antichrist and a false prophet? And if one person emerged that charismatically held an answer to all the problems and held strong political influence, how difficult would it be for people to accept him, right? How many aspects of end time prophecies have already been fulfilled? What's going on in Israel today? What's this Illuminati conspiracy? What's this New World Order? What's this rapture versus aliens? You know, when they discuss where the people go. What about this solar flares that are going to neutralize people? What is Nibiru? What is Wormwood? Are they the same thing? Right? What are the 10 countries that are going to become the regions? What will one world religion look like? What will be the one world religion? How long will it take for one individual to gain power globally? I could talk about these for hours on each of these. I know somebody asked me, what do I think the one world religion will be? If you email me, I will answer that for sure, because I have a theory and I have thoughts on that for sure. And I'll tell you not just my theory, but I'll tell you why. I've been asked to make a show out of that. I can, but in the meantime, like I said, email me, and if you want to know my thoughts on it before that. I mean, the last thing you should ask yourself is Jesus who I claim he is, right? And will he return? And that question, the answer to that will aid all your other questions that you have and all your other answers. If you're not sure what's going on or what's happening in the world around you, you don't know the answer to some of those questions. A lot of us don't. I encourage you to research it, right? What steps are being done in what countries? What secret plans are being carried out that you're not aware of? Is there any truth to the global plans for a unified society? Find out these answers. Draw your own conclusions. My job is to inform you of who Jesus is, because if I knew and did not tell you, then Ezekiel chapter 33 comes alive in my life. Behold, Christ comes quickly. Find out what Ezekiel 33 is, and you'll know what I'm talking about. I remember, when you do your prayers and you have your special prayer time, it doesn't have to be formal. Like we've already gone into that. Our Father who art in heaven. You don't have to do all that, right? Be thankful. Say a quick prayer. Say a short prayer, each morning if you want. Pray for a person you're at odds with right now at this moment, Jesus, your name is power, Just remember that there's power in that name. So pray this with me. Father God, thank you for the little things that I overlook. Thank you for the big things in my life that I take for granted at times. Thank you that your love was so great and that you gave up your son just for me. Sometimes I feel lost in this world. I feel like my time and energy are being wasted. Sometimes I feel that I'm out of control. Your word says that our strength will rise as we wait upon you. In this time, strengthen me as I wait upon you. Show me the direction you want for me and open the doors to get me there. I pray I remain in your will, in your perfect will for my life. Guide the listeners of this podcast and let them understand that not our will, but yours be done. Pour out your blessings in their lives and show them that you are real and that you remain in control. Make the impossible possible. Show them that with God, all things are possible, even if we cannot fathom how. Thank you that I am right where I need to be at this time in my life. Give me the opportunity to bless others as you prepare me for my next steps. Have us work diligently as unto you, not unto man. As others will be attracted to our rising in bad times, have us ready to tell them about you. We are the city on 1,000 hills. We are the light in the dark. Let others see you in us. Have us never forget that we are because of you. Have us realize how powerful we truly are. Teach us to use our power. In Christ's name, amen. Remember, if you confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. For it's with your heart that you believe and are justified, and it's with your mouth that you confess and are saved. It only takes a second, and Christ stands at the door and knocks, right? Speak the word. Believe you can do all things through Christ. The God of love and peace is with you at all times, right? So, as I welcome JB in shortly here, we're going to discuss another topic. And keep your questions coming in. Keep your comments coming in. If there's a show or an idea that you want JB and I to handle, we'll do that as well. Write that in. www.thetonguespeakslife.com. Send your questions. Send your comments. Thank you. And JB, come on in. Welcome back. And joining me in the studio right now is JB. Welcome back, JB.
Thanks, Dr. Mike. Glad to be here as always.
Yeah, man, I love when you come in the studio. It's awesome. So let's just jump right into it.
All right, let's go.
We're getting good feedback. We're getting a lot of good and some bad.
I was going to say, are you sure we're getting all this good feedback?
I mean, we did get one or two that, were very upset that I was talking about what I was talking about. But I'm going to have that.
We're happens. Gonna have that. It happens. I don't have a thin skin, and I know you don't either.
No, I'm fine. So let's jump back to something we were talking about in one of the previous episodes about, people being weirded out during the pandemic. And I know you have a story you want to share. Go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, it's funny because it was literally like days after we recorded that session about people wanting to get back to normal and some people acting weird. When the whole thing first started, people didn't want to be near each other and, they got funny if you touched their stuff, and some people are still like that. But days after we recorded that episode, I was at Sam's Club shopping around, and someone was taking a long time blocking the aisle, and I didn't know what they were doing, and I was just getting ready to go down another aisle to get around them. And then I noticed that she was struggling with this big box, some kind of electronic device of some sort. And she started to drop it, and then she was having a hard time with it. So I walked over to her, and I said, would you like me to help you with that, ma'am? And
Did she get offended at ma'am? A lot of people get offended at ma'am.
No, she didn't. All right, no, but she did say, like, oh, well, I don't know why. I'm just kind of weaker than normal right now. I mean, she looked like she was around my age, maybe a little older. Yeah. But I address anybody like that as sir or ma'am. So she kind of smiled, seemed like she was kind of embarrassed, and then she was bending down to go to grab it as if she was going to grab one end and I was going to grab the other, and I was like, don't worry about it, I'll get it. And so I picked it up and I put it in her cart, and she was just very, very thankful and grateful for it. You know, she had a smile on her face and was thanking me, and I said, oh, no problem. And I just went on with my shopping routine.
Was she weirded out that you were close or...
Not at all.
That you were touching her stuff.
Because at stores like Sam's Club, it's optional whether you want to wear a mask or not, and right. She was not wearing a mask.
Yeah, so right away.
Yeah. And not that would have mattered, although I do sometimes feel strange around people who aren't wearing masks because I just automatically assume that they're part of the scared crowd.
The ones wearing them or the ones not wearing
them? The ones wearing them.
Still wearing them.
So it's almost like I wonder if they get weirded out if I get too close in their proximity. So
some people are sick, though. You know what I mean? They're wearing it because they're sick and they're doing it as a courtesy.
Well, see, that's the proper reason to wear a mask.
Correct, I believe.
That's because the whole point of the mask is to protect others from yourself, vice versa. So when people, but a lot of people are wearing masks because they think that it's protecting them, and that's not what it's for.
Right. And it's funny. I mean, we could talk about it, but now since everything that's going on with Russia and Ukraine, you're not hearing anything
Nope.
about masks. You're not hearing anything about pandemic.
No, they're on to the new thing.
It's a new thing, right?
Yep.
You think this is going to circle back and we're going to, hey, it's going to mutate again and we're going to look out. You're not ready for this new one.
Well, unfortunately, I think there's a good chance of that because I heard, and I can't remember where I heard it from. It might have been, it was from the Dan Bongino show. Dan Bongino mentioned in his last show that there's talk of a new variant coming out.
Already. There's
Yep.
another new variant.
So I was like, here we go again.
Yeah.
You know, it's.
So did this one mutate and become stronger, which is impossible, or did this one mutate and we don't have to worry about it that much?
Well, from the looks of it, it seems like every time that mutates, it gets weaker.
It's supposed to, yeah.
Well, yeah, because you got Omicron, which you're saying is very contagious, but it's almost like a mild cold.
Yeah.
Maybe like a bad cold at worst, but nothing that most healthy people will have a problem with.
Yeah. It's just funny that the common cold and everything, if you sneeze, you runny nose, boom.
Yeah.
You've got it. You know?
Oh, and it's been a nightmare. Like I know there's been a lot of people that throughout a lot of this were unemployed for whatever reason, and they were collecting unemployment benefits. But for those of us that had to return to work not long after the shutdown, it's just been a nightmare. I mean, you couldn't tell your boss you had a headache. You couldn't tell them, you know, if you had a little bit of a cold. Like, if you said anything that had anything to do with the symptoms of COVID, and they automatically wanted to send you home. They wanted to make you go to the doctors for a test. And it's like, you know, I can't afford this. Like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, I was supposed to be out of town this last weekend, and the restrictions in that city didn't prevent me from going, but it was going to be a huge hindrance to, hey, you're not allowed in here without proof of this, proof of that, proof that you didn't do this or have this in the last 72 hours. Hey, you can't go into this restaurant. Hey, you can't sit at this table. A big deterrent.
And don't you think it's convenient that all the symptoms are like symptoms for like almost everything else?
Yeah, it's like those commercials late at night when it says, "Are you tired?"
Yeah,
Does
exactly.
your head hurt?
Are you tired? Do you have a headache? Do you have a stomach ache? And like, you know, it's like this was. I feel like this was like this was planned this way.
Yeah, we're gonna get into that for sure. I do want to mention real quick that I brought up Russia and Ukraine. I saw an interesting article about the women and the people in Poland that are leaving baby carriages and strollers at train stations for all the fleeing women and children that are getting out of Ukraine. I thought that was pretty awesome. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's great.
Pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
It's just weird that, you know, that in the middle of all this other stuff, there's still some humanity, you know, and people are thinking of, you know, women and children fleeing a war-torn country.
Although I just don't know what the heck is going on over there. That's the thing. I mean, because I'm hearing all these reports that most of what's being reported on the news, and this whole incident has been just a week old, and a lot of what's been reported is false.
Yeah, I've heard contradicting stories on a
heard
lot of things already.
I heard Snake Island is false.
Snake Island, yeah. I didn't
Remember
hear
what
that
happened with that?
I didn't hear about that one.
Was it the 13 soldiers that basically told Russia, go, you know, pound sand, so to speak, and then Russia annihilated them?
No, I didn't hear that one.
Well, that's false. It turns out that those soldiers actually surrendered.
So they put a spin on it.
And that's only one example of what's going on. There's a lot of false reportings of what's going on in Ukraine. So that just brings up even bigger suspicions on what's going on. But we already know about the corruption going on in Ukraine.
It's not just there.
Yeah, sure, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
But you know, with the ties with Biden and everything, I mean, this is stuff we already know about. So we shouldn't be completely surprised.
It's funny that, you know, for all the people that are saying negative, and I'm not going to get political, but all the people saying negative things about Biden and his last State of the Union address, they were chanting USA, USA, which I found kind of funny. Because part of you wants your inner patriot to be like, yeah, USA, and mean that, but they don't mean that.
Right.
Big show.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
But the stuff going on in Russia and over there, Russia plays a big part in end times that we're going to talk about, and get into that more, and specifically how Russia deals with Israel. And that's going to be a big topic. We're going to keep going along with that. And I know people are asking about it, and what does this mean? And is this the time? And if you listen to a handful of different people, nobody knows, exact time or exact circumstance what's going to happen. But we know what to look for, and we know, like I said, we will talk about how Russia and what that means to Israel as a nation, and who attacks who, and we're going to get into it, man. So.
Yeah, I look forward to it because I'm not a scholar like you are. I didn't go to school for this, and I don't know I'm far from an expert. I was watching a video on YouTube a couple of nights ago talking about the end times and about Russia in particular, which is very fascinating, especially with everything that's going on right now. And so, in the news that they're talking about, putting pressure on Russia and basically trying to dismantle Russia. Well, if we are indeed living in the end times, we know that's not going to happen.
Right.
Russia is actually going to become more and more powerful.
Correct.
Because in the end times, according to the Bible, and I think the book of Daniel touches on this, right?
Yeah.
Is it Magog? That is...
It's Gog and Magog, and that's funny because I just talked about that in my last...
Oh, cool, yeah.
Yeah, so it's... Yeah, but continue. You're
so
on the right path.
That's Russia.
Yeah.
And so Russia is notably mentioned in the Bible as basically a superpower. And they're going to be how is it referred in the Bible? The land of the north?
Yeah, the land of the north, the bear.
Army of the north or something like that.
Yeah,
and
not like Game of Thrones or Lord of the Rings, but...
So they're going to team up with... there's rumor that they're going to team up with, Iran and Turkey?
Well, there's so much speculation on what's going to happen. We know that there's a certain number of superpowers that will emerge across the earth, beginning like 7 nations that will have control over the entire thing that moves forward. But like I said, we're going to get into that. Go ahead, keep going.
Yeah, it's really wild because from what I'm hearing, it's almost like, because the United States is not mentioned in the Bible at all.
Right.
And when you look at the history of the earth, 5,000-6,000 years old, the United States
that itself is controversial because
Yeah, I know. I kind of dropped a little bomb there.
Yeah. Well, go ahead. Continue. That'll spark so many more debates.
Oh, I know.
How old
Keep
the Earth
it coming.
Yeah, go ahead.
But in the grand scheme of things, America is really a blip in history. It's just like a little drop, because we're not even 300 years old yet.
Right.
And so you have these other countries that have been around thousands of years. But, basically like what we're doing currently in present times is we are actually triggering these end times events. You know what I mean by that?
I do, yeah.
So we're putting the squeeze on Russia right now,
right?
With these sanctions, and if you keep pushing the squeeze, they're pushing outward, elsewhere. There's been talks of them reaching out to China, working with China. Then also, how else is the United States putting the squeeze on all of this, like being a trigger? We have enabled Iran. And that was done in the Obama administration. We gave them we basically made them a nuclear nation.
Yeah, exactly.
And who is one of the countries that goes against Israel in the last days? It's believed, or you said speculated, that there's a team of armies, like the armies turn against Israel. Is it?
Well, that brings in like where Antichrist fits into it, because the armies, the peace treaty that becomes the 7-year peace treaty that is signed with Israel is then violated 3.5 years into it. And that's when you're going to see, oh man, we're going to get into this stuff.
Yeah.
where the entire army is wiped. And yeah, just hang in there. We're going to get there.
Now I don't. So I watch different things on YouTube, and I gather things, from all these different sources. And I'm not saying this to scare anybody, but all I'm saying is this one YouTuber I watched, he brought it up, and he told his audience about how we basically enabled Iran to be what they are today, even though they basically chant and say death to America. And United States isn't mentioned in the Bible at all. So, put it all together the way you want, but we kind of created our own future, so to speak. So,
well, I mean, and when what you were talking about earlier is, the Bible says that a nation from the extreme north will march, the extreme north of Israel. That's what you're referring to. But we're going to get into, because there's speculation now, of course there is, about Magog, and is Russia, is this battle, are we actually watching the beginning of this unfold? And I didn't mention this in my timeline on the other cast, but the Bible talks about when Israel becomes a nation, and that ushers in the last generation. And Israel became a nation 50s, 60s, 1950, 1960. I don't forget the exact date.
1948, I believe.
48, was it? Okay, yeah, I forget the exact date, but I mean, according to that, and everything that's been predicted in this book is true. And now we're at, okay, so now there's debate on how long is a generation and how long, so there's tons of debates going on, but all these boxes are getting checked, and we're getting closer and closer and closer. So
I think that we are seeing the beginnings of it. I think we're seeing the shifting of power. And I think as time goes on, I think that, I don't necessarily think that, I could be wrong, but I hope I'm not wrong. I don't think there's going to be a nuclear war, but I do.
I don't know about that. I don't know.
Well,
you know what I mean? I don't even feel one way or the other on it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, see, I think I have a feeling what's going to happen as far as the United States and the sovereignty of the United States. I think with what's going to come in the near future, when they start unrooting the deep state, I think United States is going to fall from where we've been. And I'm not necessarily saying that we're going to be a third world country, but I don't think we're definitely not going to be the superpower that we have been.
Well, what I think is,
because a lot of our superpoweredness, if that's a word,
superpoweredness,
a lot of it, I think,
I'll accept it.
A lot of it, I think, is from the deep state. It's from these the big bullies on the playground that are pushing people around the world.
Right.
A lot of what we are on the world's stage is not really the United States. It's a lot of the big players and the elites. And with all these investigations going on with Attorney General John Durham and the indictments, I think once you wipe a lot of these people out, and by wipe out, I mean it could be anything. It could be prison, imprisonment, whatever. Once you take them out of the game, though, I think what you have left is what this country used to be. And it was just a country. It wasn't this world superpower that policed over everybody and stuck their nose in everyone's business and basically controlled everything. And so, wow, I really got off there.
Oh,
but
you're doing fine.
But I think what's going to happen is, going back to where we started, the shifting of power.
Right.
And once you see the power of countries like Russia elevate and countries like Iran elevate, and they start to create their own alliance I heard there was some kind of alliance in the works between Russia, Poland, and Turkey.
There's a lot in the works.
One other country.
Yeah.
Once you see these different alliances come up that are outside of the NATO, and I think they're getting really nervous about that because they're taking away there's a shifting of power.
Right.
And this is all kind of like, in my opinion, this is all kind of paving the way for the Antichrist.
Well, and that's why I don't have a thought on nuclear fallout or nuclear war, because we know that the world will be in chaos at some point. Like, you're already seeing, wars, the rumors of wars, famine, pestilence. You're going to see, what's the word I'm looking for? A lot of the signs are coming already.
Oh, sure.
And the world is going to be looking for somebody to have the answers and to step on the scene and, hey, what are we going to do? This war could be setting the stage for, hey, we need somebody to step in and it'd be real easy for you to come in and, hey, I'm going to bring peace, and here's the outlying conditions of peace. You know what I mean? And I'm going to establish these people in head figures, and now we're going to run it this way. You know what I mean? We're setting the stage right now.
Yeah, I mean, what's coming is not going to be pleasant at all. But the reason why I say I don't think there's going to be a nuclear war is just because nuclear is too damaging. And I'm not saying that. What I mean is, if you wanted to take over a country, and you wanted to have possession of that country, would you want to drop nukes on it? No, because if you do that, then that specific region of the country is inhabitable now. You can't be there until X amount of years, until however long it takes for the radiation to clear.
Right.
So it's not really
in their best interest.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense to do that. It's just,
unless you are, hey, here's my enemy. Let's just annihilate that enemy. Now I have no enemy. You know what I mean? So let's say Turkey's my enemy, right? So I nuke the crap out of Turkey. Now I don't have to worry about Turkey. Now I have to worry about nobody taking over Turkey, because you can't get there for 20 or 30 years, Just another way to look at it.
Right. Yeah. But the thing is, though, with the Antichrist, he wants to be worshipped.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So he wants compliance.
Yeah.
Now, by no means am I saying he's not going to try to destroy people and countries in order to get what he wants. That's why it's very interesting. There's so much to talk about and dissect.
Well, you and I are actually going to, if you'd like to. I mean, we'll have a separate one just on Antichrist. We'll do a separate one on each step of this timeline if you want.
Yeah,
I'm game for that. That'll be cool.
And also like where the Antichrist comes from. That's an interesting one. I just recently listened to a show about that.
What'd they say?
Well,
Roman background.
Let's put it this way, because this is a common question that some people think that the Antichrist might come from the United States, and ultimately they said that's not possible. That's not possible. The Antichrist cannot come from the United States because it's very specific, the region that the Antichrist comes from.
You want to talk about it now, or you want to wait?
Well, we could always talk about it now.
What did they say about it? That's what I want to know.
The Antichrist it is believed that he's going to come from a region near Turkey.
Okay.
And I'm trying to remember. See, I forget everything they talked about in the show.
Careful. You have to be careful about the shows, though, also, because some of the stuff that they're reporting, and I know there's a couple of shows on major. I don't want to mention the broadcasting network or the shows that they're on, but they will tell you, and they'll paint it as end times or a specific topic, Jesus, about this, or anything they want, and then you're going to get fed exactly what they want to tell you about that, and not anything or they'll put doubt in your mind. They'll take something that's biblical fact and they'll spin it on a way where they're reporting it to you to say, well, we think, could this have happened? We don't think so. Here's how science explains it, or here's how we explain it. So you have to be careful with that. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I agree. And I know I've heard multiple reports throughout the years that the Antichrist is definitely not coming from the United States. Some believed that it was possible that he was going to be Jewish. Now, I don't think so. But is it possible? Maybe.
I mean, there's a lot. And you know what? I want to... maybe we should wait until we target Antichrist as a topic, and we'll just jump into... Maybe we'll do that right next.
Okay.
And then we'll get into it. But the Bible is very specific about a lot of things about Antichrist. So do we know certain things? Yes. Do we know certain other things? No, we do not. So we know that he'll have, miraculous power, and he'll claim to be God at some point and want to be worshipped for sure. It all goes into a lot of let's wait till we get into it, because there's a specific number of things that we can talk about, and we'll go through that. And I think it'll be very interesting because a lot of people are, they have questions, and they have, not doubts, but they have a lot of questions about it. So maybe we'll tackle some. And
not completely off topic, but I've heard people say in the past that the song "Imagine" by John Lennon is about the Antichrist.
I didn't hear that. Really?
Yeah, I used to really love the song, but after hearing that and after listening really closely to the lyrics, I'm like, yeah, I don't know, I don't really dig this.
I'd have to see the lyrics again because I don't remember offhand.
It's a deep song. It's a deep song.
Is it?
Well, one of the lyrics, one of the lines in there is, "Imagine there's no heaven. Imagine there's no hell below us. Above us only sky. Imagine there's no religion, no countries.
Yeah.
Just all of us living together as one."
Well, I think that's how it's going to get painted.
Yeah, basically. That draws the picture right there.
Yeah, that's true. It'd be interesting to take a look at the lyrics and dive into it. Maybe we do a show about that. I don't know.
Just remember one thing. The enemy is very sneaky.
Oh, yeah. Extremely sneaky. And
we all, we've seen all these Hollywood movies where, when they depict the devil and they depict evil, it's always like this ghoulish goblin, that's freaking everybody out and scaring everybody, and everybody's hiding under their beds. But that's actually not how the enemy works at all.
Right.
That's actually a very foolish way to work. To deceive people, it's to paint it in a way where it's actually appealing.
Remember, he's a creature of light. He's a fallen angel, so he's was number 2. In the realm. So we'll get into that too. Maybe people don't know that.
There's so many different topics I'd like to talk about, and we can't cover it all in one show. But now this is a very interesting topic, and I go to churches that worship on Sundays. But a friend of mine, I think he wasn't a Seventh-day Adventist, but he went to a church though that believed in going to service on Saturdays because they were adamant that was the day of the Sabbath and it was the 7th day.
Right.
Well, they're correct. It is. And then I had a discussion with them one time and talking about it, and I said, well, why is it that most Christian churches go to church on Sundays?
Right.
Who did that? Who made that the day? Well, they created the work week and they created the weekend, and then they decided that Sundays are the days to go to church because to a lot of people they consider Sunday the last day of the week. But it's not. It's the first day of the week.
Right.
And you're probably thinking, JB, what the heck are you getting at here? It sounds like I'm just rambling on, right?
No.
But I'm actually making a point.
All right, go ahead.
So what is the definition of sin?
Go ahead.
It's rebellion against God. Okay. It's doing it's doing something God specifically told you not to do.
Okay.
It's doing the opposite of what God told you to do. So now, if you go to church, or you choose the Sabbath is the first day of the week instead of the last day of the week, what are you doing? You're basically going against what God told you to do.
So you're saying that this is this religion or whatever he was. It wasn't seventh day, maybe it was, but you're saying because of the day of the week, that's a sin to go to church.
I'm saying that it's a slight manipulation. They, because they said let's just change it from this day to that day, just the next day. What big deal is that, right? Well, it's kind of a really big deal because you just switched it from the last day of the week, the seventh day, to the first day. Mm-hmm. And God specifically said, keep holy the Sabbath day. Right. And it was shifted. And I have yet to hear an explanation on why this happened, other than the fact, and the only thing I can come to, the only conclusion I can come to, is that this was a sneaky way, because just as God works through man, so does the enemy. Right. This was a sneaky way to try to change what God wanted us to do.
Could be.
Deep topic, yeah, I know. And it's another one of those things where it turns into heated debates. And like I said before, I go to churches that worship on Sunday. Yeah. Is it a big deal or not? I don't know. But I'm just, the whole point of what I was saying all along here was that the enemy works very sneakily. Right. Because once you start changing one or two little things, even though they're not little things, right, what else starts changing? And that's how you kind of pick and erode at the truth.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and we will get into a lot of that for sure, and there's so many deep topics to get into, like a small amount of time. But I mean, when we were talking about Antichrist and nationality, the Book of Daniel talks about that a lot. And my theology, my thesis, and my whole course's work was about the Book of Daniel and the Book of Revelation. And the Book of Daniel talks a lot about, the destroyers of the temple and Antichrist on the scene, and the ties between, and I don't have the verse here. It's Daniel, but it's saying it'll tie Antichrist to the nationality of the people that destroyed the temple. So we'll get into that when we go to, and that's why I said Roman, and we will discuss that for sure. But I will have the exact verse for you when we do it, and I got to do a little homework.
Yeah, I know what you mean, because it's bugging me because they did the whole breakdown and explanation of it, but it's slipping my mind right now. Yeah. But there's reason why he comes from a certain part of the world. Now, if I were to add my own speculation to this, even though even though there's hints at where he comes from, just think about this. Like, if you don't have any working knowledge of the Bible, and you were to say to yourself, who do you think the Antichrist would be, and where do you think he'd come from? Why do you think it would not make sense that he would come from America? Well, America kind of leaves a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths around the world. Yeah. And not only that, you would have a really big problem with the Jewish and Muslim communities accepting them. Because remember, the Antichrist is going to allegedly deceive a lot of the Jewish people. Right. And a lot of people are going to think that he's
the Messiah.
Messiah.
That's a lot of where the Jewish religion, who that man Jesus is.
So if he doesn't come from that part of the world, there's no way they would ever buy into that.
Well, I'm going to read you something from Daniel, because it talks about end times and Antichrist, and Gabriel, the angel Gabriel, explains that Daniel has a vision, and the vision of the ram and the goat as events that lead from the Greek, like Alexander the Great. So the Greek Empire of Alexander the Great, Gabriel stated that the death of Alexander, after that the empire would have been divided into 4 parts, and from one of those 4 parts, Antichrist will arise. So that goes back to after the fall. Then the 4 kingdoms are broken up, and Antichrist will rise from one of that. So which one of those 4 kingdoms, we'll talk about that. But that's where I was saying Roman from.
Okay.
So anyway, it's a deep subject.
By the way, Daniel's a really good book.
Daniel's one of the most powerful books to read, and it's very, very interesting, that story.
Did you ever see the play?
I did
at
not.
Living Waters Theater in.
I've seen a lot there because that's an awesome place to go.
What city is that in? I forget.
It's by Lancaster.
Okay. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I went to see Daniel.
Yeah.
And it was such an amazing play.
I've seen like Noah's Ark.
I saw Noah's Ark.
It was good stuff.
And I saw the.
I think I saw Esther or something like that.
I want to say I saw the Easter play.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, it's good.
I forget now, but yeah, I saw like at least 2 plays down there.
Yeah, no, it's very, very cool. I'll plug them if I get their address and everything.
Yeah,
it's cool.
You know what else is really cool about their plays, and I know you know this because you've seen them, is that at the end of every single play they have an altar call.
Yeah, that's super cool.
Yeah, they're awesome. They really are.
Yeah, if you haven't been down to see one of those shows, they're super powerful because they use. It's not just you're going to watch a show or a play on stage. Like Noah's Ark, they have real animals come through the aisles, and that's pretty cool. It's actually really cool.
I can't imagine how much money is spent on their productions. So like when you, so if you go to buy a ticket, I don't know what they cost now, but don't get sticker shock because they probably are a bit pricey. But you get one heck of a production because like they you can tell when you go there, they've invested so much money into the theater itself.
Yeah.
It's got to be a state-of-the-art theater.
Sight and Sound, that's what it's
Sight
called.
and Sound, yes. Yeah. Sight and Sounds Theater.
Yeah.
And the plays themselves are just such a high-quality production. I mean, they're musicals.
Oh, yeah.
And you will just
awesome.
absolutely love the shows.
Yeah.
Definitely will not regret it. You'll have a great time with it. It's great family entertainment.
Yeah, it's down Sight and Sound. So check out Sight and Sound. Google it, and you won't be disappointed. It's not too far.
It's been like 20 years since I've been there.
And I don't know the restrictions that were with COVID. I know right when COVID happened, we were actually planned for that summer to go see something, and I don't remember offhand, but that got canceled. I'm assuming by now they're up and running, but we'll Google that. We'll let you know.
Yeah, sure. It was like 20 years ago. This church I used to go to, they got a group of us together. We purchased tickets. We went on a bus. The one member of our congregation was a bus driver, and he got permission from. I forget which company he worked for. I don't know if it was one of the transit companies. Well, they gave him permission to use his bus. So he bussed us all down to Lancaster to Sights and Sounds Theater.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that's definitely cool.
Yeah.
I forget the name of the city, but it's down by Lancaster.
God rest his soul, by the way. He just recently passed away.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
We'll continue on. That for sure is someplace you want to see. We'll talk about that in a little bit. I'm looking at our on-air meter, and we're just about at that time.
All right. Did you want to quick throw in a mention about the Cure before, or Cure International?
Cure International. I encourage everybody, and I mentioned it on my podcast. They're doing wonderful things globally. Tim Tebow's involved with them. He just, I believe. He did something with a church, I want to say in Africa, and I don't remember offhand which country it was. It's a super powerful organization. The people there that I'm dealing with are great. I've been donating there for years. They are transforming the lives of children. And we have on the tonguespeakslife.com, there's a direct link there to check out not only cure, but you can donate directly to them. It's a great organization. Check them out. So with that,
I guess we got to wrap things up.
We'll wrap it up. Thanks again to JB for sitting and tossing this back and forth, and we're gonna jump into. It sounds like we have a long list of shows.
Yeah, I think so.
For stuff to go into. So,
and I have a feeling we're gonna get an earful from some people as well.
It's okay. That's why we're here. So, thank you, and we will see you soon.
All right, take it easy.